What originally started as just an experiment within SUV styling has quickly turned into the next hot thing for crossovers. I'm here in Portland, Oregon, testing out the coupe version of the Mercedes-Benz GLC, this one being the AMG 43 model. Is it any good in a segment that has often been criticized for offering very questionable looks? That's what we're here to find out. So when Mercedes replaced the GLK a couple of years ago with the GLC, it became an instant hit. As you guys know, as I said before, crossovers are a hot market right now, and this particular one is based on the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, which is one of the company's best-selling vehicles. Now you can see the styling of the GLC is pretty familiar with the traditional, or with the current Mercedes design language. You have the signature grille here. This AMG model kind of pumps it up a bit with this chrome inserts in the grille. There's an AMG badge there. There's a gigantic three-pointed star in the center that actually houses the Distronic cruise control radar sensor, and then my tester has full LED headlights that swivel. They have LED daytime running lights and turn signals. Now, again, being the AMG model, it's lower to the ground and it sits a little bit wider, but if you're actually going to compare the coupe model to the standard GLC, this is actually about a half an inch wider, and it's actually a little bit longer. Now, my tester has these really attractive looking 21-inch alloy wheels. They're wrapped in very fat tires. They're like 255s in the front, 285s in the rear. So they do have an AMG specific size tire for sure. You also have this bi-turbo 4MATIC badge on the fenders. Now this is part of the newer lower level AMG line. So there's actually a 63S above this, which has a twin turbo V8. This has the twin turbo V6. Now coming around the sides here, this is where the coupe seriously differs the most, is this sloping roofline that tries to make it look like a coupe. It's also about 3 inches longer than the standard model to give it more of an aggressive stance. I'm not really in love with the design. I never really liked the X6. I think that this looks better than the original X6, but I just think it's kind of unnecessary, and it's just a styling statement that tries to make you look a little bit different versus all the other SUVs out there. At the rear, the taillights have that coupe look with the traditional Mercedes family. They kind of have a skinnier design. These are full LED taillights. And then the 43 model gives you these quad exhausts, which are actually just kind of finishers in the bumper, or in the rear bumper garnish, so it's not actually connected to the muffler. Now, my model has a power tailgate, and you open it by pushing up on that, and you can see here, cargo capacity is reduced because this is the coupe model. Not by much though, surprisingly. The standard model has about 20 cubic feet of space with all the seats up. This has about 18, so they didn't reduce it too much. When you fold down those seats, you get around 56 cubic feet of space, which isn't a lot, but honestly, it's actually the same as what you get in the standard model, but honestly, you probably have a little bit less usable space because this doesn't come back far enough because of that sloping roofline. Now, my particular tester does come with the company's smart key access system with push button start. Here's the current Mercedes key fob. It's a nice key. I kind of think that it is getting a little bit old. They should replace it soon. And most AMG models actually have an AMG badge on this key, and this one doesn't. So that kind of surprised me. It reminds me that this isn't really truly a full-fledged AMG model. Now, when you first approach the car, there's a little indentation on the door handle. Touch that right there, it locks the doors. The mirrors also electrically fold. To unlock it, just touch your hand on the back of the door handle, and that unlocks the door for you. Now, my tester has a really nice interior color combination. This is the $4,000 Designo upgraded leather with the diamond quilt. They're heated and cooled. They don't massage you though. You kind of have to go up a class to get that. The seats are comfortable and they look great. Mercedes honestly is doing one of the best interiors in the business right now, and it really shows. This is kind of the lower end of the segment, and you have, you know, premium metal, nice leather stitching, the upgraded Burmester audio system with the metal speaker grills. It's a really impressive cabin that really makes you think what BMW is doing, honestly, with some of their newer interiors. Now, stepping inside, the GLC has a really nice step in height, although you do feel it's a little bit lower than some other SUVs in this segment because this is the AMG model. And then when you shut the door, it sounds nice and solid, so it's a really premium feeling car, and that's kind of what you expect in this segment. Now, to start the vehicle up, there is a button here to fire up the engine. Just put your foot on the brake and then push the button. And it's really quiet, honestly. This is not what you associate with an AMG model, but again, this is like an AMG Light. And the engine it sounds okay. We'll go into the test drive later. It tries to make some nice noises, but really you have to start pushing it and shifting the transmission. That's when you'll really start to notice the nice noises from the exhaust. Now looking at the rest of this cabin, you can see my tester having the upgraded interior package has the stitched leather on the upper portion of the dash. You have this really nice real aluminum trim. It's soft touch here. Love this dark wood that's matte finish as well. It just looks fantastic. You could also get carbon fiber, I believe, on the actual 63 models, but not this 43, which is fine. The door panel here, you can see more of that leather stitching. The seats are heated and cooled. You can actually turn on both at the same time if you'd like, which is silly. I don't know why you do that. Mercedes puts the seat controls here. They're like a 14-way power adjustable seat, which is all really nice. You have 3-person memory. The controls in here feel really expensive and tactile. Mercedes, again, as I said, have been really killing it in terms of the interior qualities, and this really shows that. And the steering wheel, love the flat bottom design. I love how thick it is. It has a nice aluminum paddle shifter, although they're mounted to the wheel instead of the column. The gauges, they are, you know, nice looking. They're traditional looking. You have a little helper screen, an LCD helper screen in the middle where you can kind of change it by pushing this button here to show different kind of displays. The tach and the speedo are pretty much logical. It's all really easy to read. Surprisingly, there's not a lot of buttons. And it's all really logically laid out. Climate, you have your shortcut buttons here to go to your infotainment system, which, by the way, this has the upgraded 8.4-inch head unit as part of the current Mercedes-Benz infotainment system. It works really well. This is not a touchscreen, so don't try to touch it. It's all controlled via this command knob or controller or this handwriting pad, which looks really fancy. It's a little overwhelming at first. There are buttons here for your dynamic mode or for your drive mode selector. You can adjust your suspension here, turn off your traction control, start, stop. This right here raises the vehicle up because it does have the aromatic suspension. And then your volume control is this little wheel here, which is really nice. Now going to the head unit here, you can see when you push up on it, you can see it shows all your different sources on the wheel. Now the nav, let's go over to the nav setting here, because the Mercedes head unit is basically class competitive. It's just as good as what BMW puts, although I personally think I like Audi's system, but it's really easy to use. It has a little handwriting pad here, or you can also kind of just push up here if you want to try to get to, you know, your different sources. Let's go back to the radio here. You can also kind of just use this little pad here and just kind of scroll over like a mouse pad, kind of like what Lexus does, or most people will probably just use the wheel. I personally think the wheel is the best option, especially when you're driving. You have all your sources in here. You have Android Auto and CarPlay, which I believe is a separate option if you guys want it. But the Mercedes head unit is definitely one of the best in the business, right up there with Audi. I honestly can't decide which one I like more. I know how to use Audi system a little bit more than Mercedes, but once you get past the learning curve, like every other luxury brand, this is one of the best in the systems. Now, when you put the vehicle into reverse, you also have a backup camera here, which honestly is one of the best backup cameras in the business in terms of the resolution quality. My tester has an upgraded backup camera with the 360 view. It's got trajectory, it's got parking sensors, front and rear. It's just really nice, honestly. This will make you think like other manufacturers need to kind of copy that and make it, you know, their backup cameras better. The transmission controller is this little turn signal like or windshield wiper stalk. For drive, you push all the way down. For reverse, you push all the way up. Park is engaged by pushing this button here, P. It all controls the 9-speed automatic that is Mercedes designed. And it's definitely an interesting shifter. Some people prefer the traditional shifter. Mercedes doesn't do that for most of their models. Now, the glove compartment here, it's damped, it's lined with felt. It's nice size. You can see there's your little air fragrance bottle that's a part of an option that'll purify the air and give you a nice scent. The control, or your center console here is nice because it has 2 USBs. It's deep, honestly. It's pretty large, and it opens up 2 ways. This kind of reveals a little bit more storage here with your cup holders. And then my tester here has a sunroof, although it's not a big pano sunroof, which I'm surprised by that. But I mean, overall, this interior is super nice. Definitely one of the best in the industry. But you're gonna have to pay for it. This upgraded Designo package is definitely a pricey option to get all this stuff. The rear seat of the GLC Coupe also is relatively spacious, if I'm being honest. Really, you kind of have to duck your head a little bit because of this sloping roof. But you can see here, Mercedes gives you some controls here to actually fold the seats down. By pushing here, it actually will just fold the seat down hydraulically, which is nice. It doesn't actually fold back up automatically on its own, but it's nice that they gave you that little switch. Now, stepping back here, you can see I have to duck my head, actually. and I'm not that tall, I'm really short because of this area here that slopes down, but when you get back here, the legroom is pretty comparable to the standard model, and then when you shut the door, it sounds nice and solid. The nice materials with the stitching, the real aluminum carry through. Mercedes gives you some vents back here. The seats are also heated in the rear, but not cooled. And then you have two mat pockets here for some storage, and then you have a nice little fold-down armrest here with additional storage and some cup holders if you guys only have two people in the rear seat. So with any AMG model, what's going on underneath the hood is really where you guys want to know it. And the GLC 43 is not necessarily a purebred AMG. This has the company's 3-liter twin-turbo V6. It's not hand-assembled. That's the trademark of an AMG motor. Usually the guy who assembles it signs it. And the engine has this nice little red accent here that adds like 5 horsepower. Not really, but it's just covered in plastic. It's not really much to look at. This is supposed to be a lower line AMG model. I kind of wish that Mercedes kept it as AMG Sport models like they did for 2016. Now they've moved to this nomenclature. Now, numbers are not bad. It's a 3-liter V6 turbo, 362 horsepower, 384 pound-feet of torque. This competes with the likes of like an Audi SQ5, a BMW X3 40i, the new one that's coming out. It all goes through that 9-speed automatic. So compared to like the last time I drove this motor, it had a 7-speed. This is the new 9-speed Mercedes-designed automatic. It's not that horrible ZF one that I complain about in some other products. Now this vehicle is pretty heavy. It weighs like just over 4,000 pounds. And gas mileage is not that impressive, if I'm being honest. It's rated 18 in the city, 24 on the highway. The 4-cylinder model, the 300, is definitely the one to get if you guys want better fuel economy. It all goes out through 4MATIC all-wheel drive, performance tuned. Let's get out on the road and see how it all works. All right, so this is my first time driving a 43 model with the new 9-speed auto. I really like this V6. I just don't know if it's really special enough to be considered an actual full AMG model, but maybe the test drive will actually convince me otherwise. So let's get it out onto this road here and see how it performs. I'm gonna put the drive mode selector here into its Sport Plus because this is an AMG model. Let's see how it does in its best mode. Wow, I was not expecting this car's transmission to shift with the quickness that it just showed me. Wow, okay. Ooh, a nice little downshift there too when in sport mode. Ooh, good torque, lovely. So Mercedes says this car, this SUV, will get to 60 in like 4.7 seconds. It feels about right. This is not bad for an SUV, I will say. The steering is what impresses me the most. It is nice and heavy, nice and direct, nice and quick in its feedback. So that's definitely important when you're trying to attack a back road. And for an SUV, this really will surprise a lot of you skeptics. I mean, I'm technically one of them. I love cars and wagons, but this to me drives like a car. It sits up higher, but you don't feel that tippiness that you get with a lot of SUVs in this segment. Nice, wow. This is a lot more fun than I expected. This is kind of rivaling the Jaguar F-Pace S, the last one that I showed you guys. Although the V6 supercharged motor in the Jag had a little bit more character. This can sound a little muted. It has nice little burbles and backfires from the exhaust when the 9-speed transmission shifts. Speaking of the 9-speed, it's a really good transmission. Shifts nice and quick, has really good spacing within the gear ratios. It is a little bit harsher and firmer in dynamic mode, which may startle some of you, but let's put it into its comfort setting here. The car's suspension will kind of soften, the steering gets a little bit more numb, and the car gets just a little bit tailored back. So if you want to try to just drive it normally here, it still can handle this back road nicely, but the ride, I can tell, is definitely less jarry. The visibility in here from the front seat, like looking at the front, is fine. The mirrors are big. You have your full speed of driver assistance tech in this car like every other Mercedes. It doesn't have the drive pilot system like in the new E-Class, where that kind of approaches Tesla autopilot. But really the view out of the back is atrocious. You really need the blind spot to kind of help you. That stupid sloping roof with the thing and the big bar in the middle, it just kind of really cuts into your visibility. It's got chunky D-pillars, so you kind of have to really get used to that. But I mean, overall, the seats are comfy. It's not as quiet as I thought it would be, although the roads here in Portland are kind of crappy. But overall, you're going to be very impressed with the way the GLC Coupe drives. So now I have the transmission in its comfort setting there, and I can tell it doesn't shift quite as nice as it does in Sport Plus. It kind of hesitates a little bit. When you push it really hard in its comfort mode, it's almost like telling you, hello, you're in the wrong mode, you're an idiot, you should have put it in Sport Plus. So again, driving the car normally in comfort is probably what most of you are probably going to do. Sport mode tries to blend the line between the two of them, which again, you feel it get a little bit firm. But I mean, overall, in terms of the driving dynamics, this is a nice driving car. Personally, for me, I'd rather have like a C43 AMG sedan. But if you have to have an SUV, you love the higher seating position, this is certainly one of the better driving ones in the business. And it's going to be really interesting for me to drive the new SQ5 and compare it to this car. After spending some time with the all-new Mercedes-Benz GLC, it's easy to see why this vehicle has quickly become one of the company's best sellers. It's really comfortable, it's really spacious, it's really refined, it's really practical. Honestly, it's the perfect vehicle for so many Americans that are in the market for a new family type of car. Which brings me to the next aspect, the coupe model. I personally am not in love with the styling, but I'm surprised that Mercedes has kept a lot of the practicality in the cargo area and in the rear seat as the standard model. So really, you just have to really love the design. It's certainly different, it's certainly unique, and if that's something that you're looking for, this is definitely one of the best ones you can pick. I also like how it's smaller. It's not quite as big as the X6 because this is a class below it. This competes with the BMW X4, which I actually haven't had a chance to show you guys yet. Now, the AMG model, does it deserve to be wearing this AMG badge? Personally, I think this is a lot of fun to drive. You guys heard in my test drive, the engine makes nice noises. The transmission, while a little harsh at times, is quick shifting. It's better than the old 7-speed. But really, I need to drive the 63 model because the whole trademark of an AMG has always been the engine noise. And although this sounds good, to me it just doesn't have the same kind of gravitas that you expect an AMG model to have. But that brings me to the final aspect, the price of this car. It starts at a base price of $59,000 for the 43 model. It's like 15 grand more versus the standard 300 version. If you're keeping score, this is about 5,000 more than just the standard GLC. The coupe body style takes away practicality, but you pay more because you pay more for the styling. My tester has a boatload of options on it in typical Mercedes fashion. The most expensive being Premium 3 is like $5,000. It gives you all the driver assistance tech, the upgraded head unit. The Designo leather is like 4 grand. It's got a head-up display, heated and cooled seats, the AMG night package, and a bunch of other stuff in here that I can't remember honestly at this point. But all in, my tester is $76,000, which is definitely a lot of money. It makes it more expensive than like a fully loaded SQ5 by at least like $5,000, but you could take away the Designo leather to make it a little bit cheaper. It's a really nice car. If the styling is basically your cup of tea, this is definitely one of the best ones in the business. But with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2017 Mercedes-AMG GLC 43 Coupe. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.